Welcome to part 3 of my Artificial Intelligence for Writers tutorial. We've already created some characters and some storylines using artificial intelligence, and we've broken our story down into scenes. Now we're going to write a movie script. So like and subscribe to hear more. I'm Christian Darkin, and I'm a writer and animator, and I've been involved in the creative industries my whole life, one way or another. I'm just amazed at what AI has learned to do in the last couple of years. So I've built some writing tools which you can download and use on the GitHub repo in the link below. If you don't know what that is, click the link anyway, because there's some examples of what I'm doing, and you can have a look and try and make sense of them. What we've got so far is a list of synopses generated by artificial intelligence, a list of characters generated by artificial intelligence, and we've now broken some of those down into scenes. We're now going to turn those scenes into a movie script. If you're a writer, then up to now, the only way you could see how your story would look and how it would work is to write it in full. And that can take months if it's a novel or if it's a screenplay. So that's months of work before you know if your idea would even work. You know, if it's got fatal flaws, if it's got problems with its plot or character, or if it's got, irrecoverable problems. But you wouldn't build anything else that way, would you? I mean, you wouldn't make an aeroplane by starting with the wheels and working upwards. It's just absurd. You'd have prototypes, you'd have models, you'd know what you were going to make before you started. And that's what I'm attempting to do here, to give us the tools to do that with fiction. So let's get going. Okay, so where we'd got to at the end of the last video was we'd created some characters, used the artificial intelligence to create some characters. I can show you some of those. There we go. We've got a whole load of alien species, of characters you might meet in a... I'm going to minimize that. Characters you might meet in a murder mystery, and each one has got a précis, a few lines about them, and from those characters we've created some scenes, some synopses. So there's some historical novels. Let's have a look. And the artificial intelligence has created a whole load of synopses, and from the synopses we've created scene lists. There's another utility on the GitHub repo which will turn your synopses into lists of scenes. Let's have a look at some of those now. What you get is you get a folder, and in that folder a list of scenes, and each scene is just a few lines describing what happens in that part of your story. Now, as I've said before, this is the weakest part of the AI story writing tools that I've created. The scene list, the scenes that it creates are pretty limited. I mean, here's one that just says Leigh and her mother arrive at Leigh's grandparents' house in Glen Cove. Leigh is excited to see them, but her mother is nervous. Doesn't really tell you enough, and it certainly doesn't tell the artificial intelligence enough to start writing a script from scratch. I mean, we can try it, but it's not going to work very well. So if I give an example here, this one's from a story about the Cold War. The first scene says, we've seen the main character Alex at a submariner training base. He's going through the training and is struggling, but he's determined to make it through. Now it's okay as a very small précis, but it's much better to get a lot more detail before you start writing. So I've gone in and manually rewritten this scene as a few other as a group of smaller scenes. So the first one is Alex is a young man entering the Navy. He's training to be a submariner. His commanding officer is a jerk and he's doing badly. We see him at basic training falling way behind the other trainees.
Then scene 2, we see Alex in the canteen. The other soldiers are bullying him. He's trying to eat, but you see what we're doing here. We're breaking things down. We're breaking our story down into scenes which you can actually see being created as a script. So let's nip over to the no, not to that. We'll nip over to our Python environment. And I'm loading up my Python file, which is called turn scene files into scripts. I bet you can guess what this does. Let's hit go. Choose a scene file. It's asking me to choose a scene file, so let's choose let's choose that one we just described. It's in scene lists. It's the Cold War one. Now it's the scene is this one. Alex is a young man just entering the Navy. He's struggling at a submariner training base. So load it in. Now I can load some supporting files if I want to. So if I'm doing a science fiction story, I might want to describe the universe, the world in which the story takes place. If I'm writing a western, I might describe the town. If I'm writing a very character-based story, then I might want to give some more in-depth detail of the characters. Either way, you can put anything you like in and it's just a text file. I'm going to put nothing at all in. Any additional notes for this scene? So I can talk about, I can say I want this scene to be dark and moody. I want this scene to be light-hearted and funny. I want this scene to take place in a certain place, whatever. I can put in a little note for this, but for this scene, but I'm not going to. I'm just going to hit return. So it's now querying GPT-3 and it's come up with a scene for me. Alex is, let me just expand this a little bit. Interior, submarine training base, day. Alex is in training at a submariner training base. He's in the Navy, falling behind other trainees. Commanding officer, what the hell are you doing, recruit? Alex, sir, I'm doing my best, sir. Your best isn't good enough. You're falling behind the other recruits. You're going to have to do better if you want to make it through this training. Alex, yes, sir. Okay. It's a pretty bland scene. And I can choose here to accept it and move on to the next scene, or I can choose, I can say, I can choose to redo it. I think I'll redo it. So I press 2, hit return. Now it's going to query GPT-3 again. Let's see what it comes up with this time. A different version, hopefully a bit more interesting. Give it a bit of time. Right, interior, training base, day. We see a group of young men in their early 20s going through a series of physical and mental tests. They're all clad in Navy-issued gear and look exhausted. Among them is Alex, who's struggling to keep up. His commanding officer, Jerk, okay, he's called him Jerk, well that's fine, is continually berating him. Come on, you worthless piece of shit, move it, you're moving behind the others. Alex, I'm trying, sir. The commanding officer grabbing him by the collar. Try harder, damn it. If you don't shape up soon, you're going to be washed out of this place. Alex continues to struggle through the training. He's clearly not cut out for it. He falls more and more behind. And it's ended the scene with, that's it, you're done, pack your things and get the hell out of here, you're not cut out for this place. So in other words, it's gone a little bit beyond our remit, and it's added a little bit of extra story that we didn't really want. He's been thrown out of the academy. We didn't really want that. So what I can do is I can either do what I did just now. I can either redo that scene completely, or I can just go back into my folder where a new file has been created, script_scene1, which is this script, and I can simply delete the end. While I'm here, I might as well rename this person John. Let's call him John. Okay, let's call him John. So I'm just going to do any edits I want to the script before I move on to the next scene. And then save it. Now, this is good practice. to edit as you're going along. Do a little bit of a edit as you're going along. I'm okay now, so I can say 1, which is accept this and move on to the next scene. It's now asking me to load supporting files again if I want them, but I don't. Add additional notes. It's now going to try and generate the next scene for me. So remember the last scene is so if you have a look here, the last scene is written up on the screen here, and then we get the synopsis of the next scene. We see Alex in the canteen. The other soldiers are bullying him. He's trying to eat. So that's the next synopsis. That's the synopsis for scene 2, and the artificial intelligence has come back with what it thinks is a good scene for that. Let's read it. Interior, training base canteen, day. Alex is sitting at a table trying to eat his food. The other soldiers are bullying him, throwing food at him, making fun of him. Suddenly, another cadet, James, comes over and takes Alex's food tray away from him. James to the others. Hey, look what we've got here. Little baby Alex can't even finish his food. Hey, give me my food back. Make me. Alex tries to jump on James, but James pushes him away. Alex falls to the ground. The training officer, John, comes in and shouts at Alex. Now, because I've edited the text of scene 1 to change the guy's name from Jerk, which is what the computer said, to John, now it's adopted what I've said, and now the character's called John, which suits me fine. So, John, what the hell are you doing? Get up and get out of here. Your punishment is to work in the rain for the rest of the day. Now move it. Alex stands up and leaves the canteen. We see him outside working in the rain. He's struggling to do the menial job he's been given. All the other cadets are in the mess hall relaxing. Okay, let's now I can choose to redo that if I want to. I can choose to accept it and carry on, or I can do a third thing, which is I can say this scene is unfinished, add more to the end. So if I type 3, it'll put that into the artificial intelligence and say, give us a bit more on this scene. Doesn't usually work very well, this, but let's see what it does. So Alex stands up and comes up. All the extra, yeah, it's not giving me any extra, but sometimes if you type 3, if you get a scene that hasn't told the whole of the story you want to tell in that section, in that scene, it'll come back and give you some more. But let's say that's fine. So we press 1, continue to the next scene. Load supporting files, no. Any additional notes? So we're now on scene 3. Which is Alex is in bed in the barracks. He writes home questioning why he ever joined up in the first place. He's very unhappy around him. His companions don't seem to care. So the story, the scenes it's come up with are interior, training base, barracks. Alex is in bed writing a letter home. He's questioning why he ever joined up. Why did I ever join up? This isn't what I wanted. Companion 2, indifferent. So it's introduced another character, companion, indifferently. Oh, shut up and go to sleep. Alex ignores him. I thought it would be different. I thought I could make a difference, but it's all the same, day in, day out, just boring routine. I can't take it anymore. He crumples up the letter and throws it across the room. And I can accept that, or I can redo it. At this point, it's probably worth while it's doing that. Let's see what its result is for this. There you go. Alex sitting in bed writing a letter at home. He's questioning why he ever joined up. Alex brackets writing, dear mum and dad. You see, we've got a voiceover now. Dear mum and dad, I don't know why I ever joined the Navy. It was a mistake. I'm not cut out for this life. The other cadets bully me and the training officer is a jerk. I just don't belong here. Suddenly one of the other cadets, James, oh, James is back. We don't like James. Comes over and snatches the letter away from him, reading it. Dear mum and dad, oh, boo-hoo, poor little baby Alex can't have... I don't like James at all. Give me my letter back, make me... Yeah, the same fight happens again, right? So there you go. Now it's gone into a bit of a loop. It's they're saying the same dialogue as they said in the mess hall, and now John's come in and said, "What the hell are you doing? Go out and work in the rain for the rest of the day." So obviously we wouldn't accept that. We'd probably want to redo that. It's worth at this. So if I hit redo now, at this point, it's worth looking at what we're actually giving the artificial intelligence when we come to write our actual scenes. So if we scan back in here, we'll see what happens. Now this is what it's giving the artificial intelligence. The first thing it's giving it is a short scene here, which I've written, which is just two people in a room having a conversation. It's just a 4-5 sentence exchange between two people, and all that's there for is to show GPT-3, to show the artificial intelligence what a movie scene looks like when it's laid out correctly. So there it is. That's just an example for it to follow when it's writing it. Then the next thing we've got is the background information, which I've chosen not to include, but that gets put into the artificial intelligence. Then we get notes for scenes to be written. That is the any additional information we've typed in. And then what we get is the story so far. Now the story so far is a list of the synopses for the last 5 or 6 scenes that have happened before this. It's just so it's loading in that file, scene 1, scene 2, scene 3. Right, so it's giving it a synopsis of what's happened so far. Then it says, underneath that, it says, using standard Hollywood formats, continue this script. Now, next thing it's got is a synopsis for the last scene, and then it's got the actual script leading up to the bit we want it to generate. That is the script of scene 2 in this case. It's got this whole script is copied into the artificial intelligence, so it's got some context, it knows where it's going to continue from. Then it's got a synopsis of the scene we want it to write. Alex is in bed in the barracks. He writes home, questioning why he ever joined up in the first place. He's very unhappy. Around him, companions don't seem to care. That's the scene it's got to write. So that's all the information it's been given. And we then ask it to come up with the next scene. So that's how we create. Let me just expand this. So that's how we create a set of scenes, one scene at a time, editing as we go along. As I've said before, the quality of your scene file, that's these files here, is really, really important. Even what I've got here is not, I think, good enough. If I was doing it properly, if I was doing this properly, I would go for scene files that have a lot more detail. I'd spend a lot more time working on these files because these are the key to what the thing creates. To get an idea of the quality of scenes you want, go over to this site, go into thestory.com. And this has got a whole list of real films broken down into, there's a lot of them there, broken down into scenes. Let's choose one that we know about. Let's choose one that people will recognise. Let's go for Ex Machina. And what we've got here, this person has done an awful lot of work, and they've taken the scripts and broken them down into detailed scenes. Here we go, for the whole film, explaining exactly what happens in every scene. And that's the kind of level of detail I think we need if we're going to produce good scripts. So once you've got your set of scripts, looking in your folder, what it'll look like is you'll get your original scene files, and then you'll get your script files for scene 1 to however many scenes you've got. You'll have those listed there. I've got one other utility that you can use, which is called assemble scripted scenes into a script. Really quite simple. You just choose your initial scene. You just choose your initial start scene, which is scene 0001. It's got to be in that format. And it'll go through, collect up all these scenes, and it will assemble them together into one script file like that. See, there we go. There, we've done that one. So that's all the scenes that I've created, all listed together to create my finished script.
Okay, so there it is. We've gone in these 3 videos from absolutely nothing to a completed script. Now, this is not a production-ready script. I mean, I wouldn't even call it a first draft. You'll need to work on every scene, the subtleties, the characterization, the foreshadowing, the details that make it real. What you do have, hopefully, is the scaffolding, a sort of rapid prototyping, I'd call it, for your story and how it's going to play out. In the next part, I'm going to be looking at some more tools for novelists. So, like and subscribe and come back to see those.